The mob mentality, I'm a bit mixed on. Again, and I think it comes back to believing that the town would be this crazy, but not to say that they wouldn't be, right? So I'm mixed on that. I have mixed feelings on the beatdown of Michael. Just mixed on it. I just don't know how to feel about it yet. I'm not crazy. Obviously I'm not crazy on it, or I would be like, woo. So I feel sort of mixed on that. I feel mixed on the ending of the film and the way that it ended. Listen, I knew it was going to end abruptly. I knew it was going to end on a cliffhanger. I think most of us did, because we have another movie to go. So it does feel unfinished in that regard. But I felt very mixed with Karen's quote unquote death. And let's be honest here. Although we saw Brackett die, although we saw Tommy die, although we saw Karen die, and I do believe that they are going to carry that through, because you have to have that happen to give bottom to your story. Now the stakes are higher. Now there's more emotional weight and bottom for Laurie. You know what I mean? It just makes it much more interesting from a writing and storytelling perspective. Like, you can't Marvel this shit and have them all come back. However, having said that, we thought Hawkins was pretty dead and buried in 6 feet under at the end of H18, and he came back. So could you bring Karen back? Yes. I think you could figure out a way to do that. She's just was, she was stabbed and she's bleeding, and she's unconscious, but she survives, and could you do it with Brackett? Sure. Maybe Brackett got his throat slashed, but he's lying there, but he's barely alive. There's just a pulse. He's alive. Get him to the hospital, and same with Tommy, right? I mean, you could do that, but I don't think they're going to. But again, here's a moment. Okay, so that moment when Michael regains consciousness after his epic beatdown from this mob, and he starts killing everybody, and he kills Tommy. Follow me here. That moment where the sound falls away, and he's got the knife in Tommy, and they're looking each other eye to eye, right? Eyes to eyes. And they're looking each other, and the film is breathing. It's taking a few breaths and a moment, because it recognizes this is Tommy Doyle looking at Michael Myers for the first time in 40 years. Since you can't kill the boogeyman, this is the moment. And the film does a good job. Despite the fact that I have mixed feelings on everything around it, the film at that moment does a good job of seeing Tommy Doyle looking at Michael, and the camera's kind of spinning around a bit, right? It's taking a moment. It didn't take that moment with Brackett. Brackett was just, and it's done. It's like, oh, well, there goes Brackett. You know what I mean? With Tommy, it took a moment. And that's the kind of breathing room this film needed with Legacy Characters Reunion. You know what I mean? Like, they just kind of, and again, maybe there's just too many that you have to do, and it would slow the film down if, everybody is being all melancholy and emotional every 5 seconds. Like, I get that, but that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about you need that, because, it really affects Halloween fans. It really affects Halloween fans emotionally to bring that into it and to allow that moment to breathe. And that was a moment. It's like, oh my God, this is it. And he's looking, and Michael's tilting his head, and Tommy's looking up like this, and it's just, and he's like, yeah, it was a good moment. It was a good moment. I liked that. How Michael got back to the Myers house and got into the Myers house, I don't know. Is it necessary to know? No. I mean, he is the Shape after all. And maybe he got in through the back door. I mean, we know the front door of the Myers house was, crawling with paramedics and police officers and Karen and, all that. So he likely would not have made it through the front door. Maybe he went around, but he did get there pretty quickly. But that's part of Michael's MO. I mean, so him suddenly being in Judith's bedroom with Karen I have mixed feelings on it. I have mixed feelings on it. It didn't bother me, but I didn't love it either. I'm just kind of like, I kind of feel mixed about that. So I feel mixed about the mob mentality. I feel mixed about the beatdown of Myers. I feel mixed about sort of the way it ended a bit. But I didn't hate it. Like, it didn't bother me. I just mean in terms of the moment and the way it was executed, the way it was shot, the way it was presented to us. I feel kind of mixed on it. Yeah, so those are some of my likes, those are some of my dislikes, and some of the things I feel mixed on. Let me also say too, another thing that I liked was I liked Cameron's death. I thought that was good, and how the whole confrontation between Cameron and Michael and Allison, and Michael at the top of the stairs in the Myers house, Allison falling down the stairs, hurting her leg or her knee or whatever, and that whole thing. Like I like that scene. I like that Cameron discovers his dad, dead above him, and Michael suddenly, there was some nice suspense there. Again, suspense is a spectrum, right? But in that moment, for a few moments, there was some nice tension. It was like, oh, there's some tension here. I kind of feel it. It's not overwhelming. It's not like, palpable and the tension's so thick you can cut it with a knife. It's not that level of tension, but there's a little bit of tension here, right? And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And you mix that with a bit of that lighting, and it's like, oh, this is, and you're in the Myers house, and the Myers house looks like the Myers house, and you're kind of like, this is kind of cool, and then all of a sudden he bursts out of the closet, and that's interesting. I like that whole confrontation there. I thought that was kind of cool. So, that's another thing that I liked.